Let's jump into a summary of Five Little Pigs by Agatha Christie. 16 years after the crime, Hercule Poirot is approached by a young woman named Carla Lamarchant, who brings him a cold case, one steeped in passion, jealousy, and tragedy. Carla has recently turned 21 and is preparing to marry, but she has learned a truth that shakes her world. Her mother, Caroline Crail, was convicted of murdering her father, the famous artist Amias Crail. Caroline died in prison shortly after the trial, but before her death, she wrote a letter to her daughter declaring her innocence. Now, with her future on the line, Carla wants to know the truth. Was her mother truly a murderer, or was she wrongly condemned? She asks Poirot to find out, not with new evidence, but by investigating people's memories, 16 years after the fact. Poirot is intrigued. He agrees to take the case, not by revisiting forensics or legal documents, but by reconstructing the crime through psychology and perspective. He identifies the 5 people who were present during the fatal day at Alderbury, the Crail's home, when Amias died from conium poison he drank in a glass of beer while painting a portrait in the garden. These 5 individuals, each of whom might have had a motive, become the titular 5 Little Pigs, based on a nursery rhyme Caroline used to chant to her daughter. The 5 suspects are Philip Blake, a successful stockbroker and longtime friend of Amias. Cool, cynical, and loyal to his friend, Philip despised Caroline and always believed her guilty. Meredith Blake, Philip's brother, a gentle and reclusive amateur chemist who lived nearby. He had codeine, the poison used, in his laboratory and provided the poison unwittingly. Elsa Greer, now Lady Dittisham, who at the time was Amias's young and beautiful model and his mistress. Amias was painting her nude portrait and had told her he intended to leave Caroline and marry her. Cecilia Williams, the stern governess of Carla at the time of the murder, devoted to Caroline and deeply disapproving of Elsa and Amias's affair. Angela Warren, Caroline's much younger half-sister, a spirited and intelligent girl who had once been disfigured by Caroline in a childhood accident. At the time of the murder, Angela was 16 and mischievous, perhaps resentful, but also emotionally loyal to her sister. Poirot begins by speaking to each of them in turn, interviewing them with patience and careful scrutiny. He asks each to provide a written account of what they remember from the days leading up to the murder and the event itself. Through these recollections, Poirot reconstructs 5 conflicting, emotionally loaded portraits of the same moment, a classic example of subjective truth, memory bias, and emotional distortion. From Philip Blake, Poirot learns of his admiration for Amias as a man's man and his thinly veiled contempt for Caroline, whom he calls jealous and neurotic. He portrays her as possessive, unstable, and capable of murder, a narrative shaped more by Philip's personal feelings than objective truth. Poirot notes Philip's bitterness and wonders if there's something more than mere disapproval behind it. Meredith, his brother, paints a very different picture. He recalls Caroline as graceful and dignified, though unhappy, and shows regret that his own foolishness may have contributed to Amias's death since the poison was stolen from his laboratory. Poirot finds Meredith melancholy but sincere, perhaps too gentle to be a murderer, but possibly someone hiding guilt. Elsa Greer's account is self-assured and unapologetic. She remembers herself as the victim, a woman in love with a brilliant man, betrayed by his sudden declaration that he would never leave his wife. She recalls Caroline's coldness and makes no secret of the tension between the 2 women. Poirot, however, sees through her version of events. There is fury beneath Elsa's elegance, and a controlling pride that masks deep humiliation. Miss Williams, the governess, remains rigid and moralistic. She insists that Caroline was a noble woman, incapable of such a crime. She believes Amias mistreated Caroline and was consumed by his art and his mistress. Poirot sees that Williams is loyal, perhaps too much so, and may have turned a blind eye to certain details. Finally, Angela Warren, now an archaeologist, offers a sharp and emotionally layered account. She admits her childhood resentment of Caroline but believes her sister was innocent. She reveals more than anyone else about the family dynamic, Amias's selfishness, Caroline's quiet suffering, and Elsa's growing aggression. Angela also confesses that she had once attempted to poison someone, putting something into a drink as a prank, but Caroline had taken the blame. As Poirot considers all the stories, He notices a crucial pattern. All 5 witnesses recall one detail differently: the moment when Amias, while painting, drank the poisoned beer. Each person noticed something about that moment, but their recollections conflict. Some thought Caroline brought the drink. Others claim Elsa did. Still others are vague. But Poirot sees what they don't. Their stories contradict because they've misremembered the timeline, or deliberately shaped it. Poirot also realizes something vital from the behavior of Amias on the day of his death. He was known for being irritable, focused, even cruel when in the throes of painting. Yet all accounts agree that shortly before his death, Amias was calm and satisfied with his work. That doesn't fit with the narrative that he had just told Elsa he wouldn't leave his wife, news that would have enraged her. If he had done that, and Elsa was as prideful and entitled as she seemed, then she would have had both the motive and the opportunity to kill. Poirot calls everyone back together and announces his conclusion. Caroline Crail was innocent. The real murderer was Elsa Grier, the mistress. Amias had promised to leave Caroline for Elsa, but changed his mind. He told Elsa, in his blunt way, that he had no intention of marrying her, and worse, that she was just another model to him. Humiliated, Elsa acted. She had access to Meredith's lab and knew enough about poison to take the codeine. She switched the bottle of beer Amias had been drinking from, and he died later that day. Caroline knew the truth, but she made no defense at the trial. She believed the law would convict her no matter what, and more importantly, she wanted to protect her sister Angela, who had once dabbled with poison. Caroline believed the circumstantial evidence would condemn Angela if she told the truth, so she took the blame to shield her. Poirot lays out the timeline, the lies, and the psychology behind each testimony. The elegance of the crime and its tragedy is not in its method, but in the emotional web that surrounded it: pride, shame, loyalty, and grief. Carla, hearing the full truth at last, is vindicated. Her mother was not a murderer. Her future can begin untainted by doubt. Don't forget to subscribe and watch another summary.